It was Eala is the match that I was looking at, and there's people like
They mostly went my way, so yeah, that was good.
Living that same experience, but hopefully the event kind of continues.
The 20-year-old who was the WTA's fastest rising star in women's tennis was packing stadiums on 3 continents, shattering decades-old records, and attracting millions of new fans to the game on her own. A once-in-a-generation tale, a phenomenon. While hundreds of her admirers were stuck outside the gates with nothing to go, they placed her on court 6, a tiny, insufficient, and embarrassing little court. It wasn't an error. That was a clear statement. The WTA was unaware of what they possessed. Even worse, they were completely aware and unconcerned. However, it doesn't get any worse than that. Because the WTA was occupied with something even more improbable on one side while Alex Eala was being treated disrespectfully on the other. One of their own champions, a player who had recently fought her way to a major final, had her body photoshopped, her waist altered, a portion of her arm removed, and it was placed online as if nothing had happened. Jessica Pegula was not silent when she saw it. She immediately took to social media to vent to them. The players have finished remaining quiet. The fans have finished offering justifications. And the WTA is going to learn firsthand what happens when you treat the wrong people disrespectfully. Click the subscribe button if you believe that the WTA should issue a sincere apology to both of these players, as the scandal is just going to get bigger. First, let's talk about Melbourne. One of the most prominent tennis tournaments in the world, the Australian Open, is the first Grand Slam of 2026. It is also the venue where the WTA made a choice so tone-deaf and detached from reality that supporters are still discussing it weeks later. Not just local Australians with Filipino ancestry, but thousands of Filipino supporters traveled to Melbourne Park. This vacation was specifically organized around one player. After purchasing tickets, making travel arrangements, and taking time off work, they were sent to Court 6 when they asked where Alex was playing. Court 6, one of the smallest and most obscure locations in the complex, is not Rodlever Arena or Margaret Court Arena. Hundreds of spectators never entered the court since its seating capacity was so much less than what was needed. They stood in ineffective queues. In an attempt to get a peek of what was going on the other side, they surged against obstacles. A few of them had never in their lives gone to a professional tennis match. This was meant to be their time. It became a locked door as a result of the WTA. Online, there was an instantaneous and brutal response. Supporters referred to the choice as stupid. The WTA, they claimed, had no justification. One fan remarked that it was illegal to make this error more than time and that it could never be forgiven. And the context was what really infuriated me. This wasn't shocking. Since Miami 2025, Eala's capacity to attract sizable audiences has been on full show. The same thing occurred at every competition she participated in. There is electricity in the air in packed houses. For the first time, a completely different audience is attending women's tennis. The information was present. The evidence was overwhelming. The WTA had every reason to anticipate this and had no justification for making such a disastrous mistake. However, Dubai followed next, so they weren't finished. Additionally, the WTA treated Eala with a new level of disdain in Dubai. One that was even more annoying while being quieter. The organizers moved Coco Gauff's match to start the night session instead of ending it when I advanced to the quarterfinals to face her. That can appear to be a small scheduling issue to someone who isn't paying close attention. No, it wasn't. The start time for Filipino fans viewing from home was now 11 p.m. Philippine local time. She wouldn't take the court until much after midnight if the previous match went on for a long time. Millions of the sport's most ardent, involved, and lucrative fans were being asked to give up their sleep in order to see their favorite athlete compete. And when those spectators turned off their screens after Eala's match, Alina Svitolina entered a stadium that was just about half full for her quarterfinal. A 4-time WTA 1000 champion and former world number 3 competing in one of the tournament's major matches in a seemingly empty arena. The WTA had misjudged the issue and put themselves in an awkward scenario that didn't need to be there, not because people didn't care about Svitolina. This is the reason why everything is so hard to understand. The figures pertaining to Eala are not nuanced. They cannot be interpreted in any way. During this time, 79% of fans choose Eala over Gauff and 89% selected her over Raducanu in fan surveys. During her post-match interview, Gauff publicly praised her opponent for introducing a completely new demographic to the sport after defeating Eala in Dubai. In her triumphant news conference, the world number 4 acknowledged her contributions to women's tennis and pointed to the player she had just eliminated, not a journalist or analyst. You are functioning at a completely new level when your competitors are speaking about your influence after defeating you. The WTA had a player that could elicit such a response and was always coming up with new ways to mistreat her. Jessica Pegula followed, and the WTA treated her in a completely different way. Pegula had just finished one of her Dubai campaign's performances, losing to Amanda Anisimova in the semi-finals by a set and a break. To get to her first ever Dubai final, she fought her way back point by point, took in all her opponent hurled at her, and completely changed the course of the match. She was focused, motivated, and eager to play for a major title just hours away. Additionally, the WTA determined that it was appropriate to share a promotional image of Pegula and her last opponent on their official social media account at that time. However, the person depicted in that picture didn't resemble the real Jessica Pegula at all. Her waist had seen significant change. A portion of her arm had been removed digitally. It was nearly unbelievable how blatantly transparent, reckless, and unregulated the editing was before it was made available to millions of followers. Pegula didn't discuss it in a secret group conversation or whisper. She shouted it out in front of everyone by going straight to the comments area. She wondered what had become of her body. She indicated the arm that was gone. She made it very evident that this was unacceptable while maintaining a humorous tone. Madison Keys answered right away. Jennifer Brady also participated. The post went viral for all the wrong reasons in a matter of hours. Without a word, the WTA silently removed it and replaced it with an updated version. There was no public statement, no apology to Pegula, and no admission that they had changed a professional athlete's appearance without her consent and shared it with the world. Just quiet and the wish that nobody would remember. Because changing someone's body in an official promotional photo is not a small editing mistake, women's tennis fans did not forget. It conveys a message. It claims that these athletes are not properly respected by the entity that is in charge of or promoting them. It claims that at some point during that workflow, someone determined that a picture of a professional athlete in top physical condition needed to be altered, but nobody noticed. It was not flagged by anyone. Nobody considered checking before posting. That goes beyond simple negligence. That is a systemic breakdown of fundamental norms. After winning the Dubai title, Pegula, the player the WTA had just publicly humiliated, entered her Champions news conference and utilized her platform to discuss Alex Eala. This is the part of the narrative that should embarrass the WTA the most. She acknowledged her influence on the sport. She commented about how fervent her fan following is. She stated that she would like to have her on her program. She described seeing Eala's ascent as something very unique. A champion on the biggest stage of her week, inspiring another player and highlighting all the positive aspects of women's tennis. The group purportedly in charge of women's tennis was occupied with removing manipulated images and praying no one would discover. Golfers, players, fans, and Pegula all understand it. Only those in charge of making decisions at the top continue to demonstrate that they don't understand. Moments like Court 6 and the Dubai Photoshop won't be isolated events unless that changes. The players will continue to call them out, and they will continue to occur. If you share everyone's frustration with the WTA's stupidity, please leave a comment below and subscribe, as this discussion is far from